Hello and welcome to part 2 of cryptocurrency history here in the Unlock Your Crypto Journey training series. Just to remind you, these videos with regard to cryptocurrency history are meant to be an overview, just to give you a basic understanding of what has happened and transpired so far within the cryptocurrency space. So it'll take you from the inception of Bitcoin all the way to the beginning of 2025 when these videos have been recorded. And again, I'm joined by BC PortCorp to help me to get this crypto history out to you. So let's head on in and watch this part 2 of crypto history. Welcome back. Appreciate everybody being here. This is part 2 of our series talking about the history of cryptocurrency. And you recognize this guy right here. He's back again to help me out. BC PortCorp, appreciate you being here, sir.
I'm glad to be here. It's a great topic to break down, and I'm super glad you asked me to help you out with it.
Well, I'll tell you what, this guy is super knowledgeable about it, and we're gonna jump right into this. In the last video, we talked about Bitcoin itself, when it started, kind of a little bit about the ethos of why it was started, and gave you a little bit of information about how it's evolved through the space. But you might be asking, and even to this moment, you might be asking, how do I get into Bitcoin? How do I actually get me some Bitcoin? How do I actually get me some cryptocurrency? And again, we're going to have an entire video just about that, where we talk about exchanges and so on and so forth. We're going to touch on that briefly right now, but it's probably a good idea to understand how it all started, because where we are now, as of the recording of this video, is a lot different than where it began back in 2008. So I'll tell you what, BC, kick us off. Where did we start out back in 2008?
So back when things first started out, it was extremely differently than just logging into your Coinbase account that your bank account is linked to and clicking the little buy button and being like, oh, it automatically lets me set up a DCA. Well, like, hey, every day this week, you're going to buy this much Bitcoin. Very, very differently. That's not how it started out. It was a little more difficult. You had a peer-to-peer way of purchasing Bitcoin, much like the whole white paper really talks about. You bought directly from the people that make that blockchain and get the Bitcoin rewards. So you would purchase it from them, and this is how they profited off of the Bitcoin that they were mining. This is how that whole process, where it's like, what is my actual reward? How do I keep buying more Bitcoin or keep mining more Bitcoin? And that's how you did it. You purchased it directly from the miners.
That was that peer-to-peer piece, like it was supposed to be, right? You know,
most definitely. And that's what fascinated me about it. I started out buying directly from miners through the Tor network. You just buy from, it was completely anonymous, which I loved, because I'm very big on that whole anonymity in crypto and kind of being in control of your own money, having that layer a part of like, hey, this was my Bitcoin wallet address. Because when Bitcoin first started out, it was a little less secure. The blockchain was very new. It was it could have more easily been swayed one direction or another. So when you're buying that, you bought it from those miners, and you had your original Bitcoin wallet, which I talked about earlier, was also built in with your node. So every single day that you're like paying attention to this, you're seeing all the transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain, and it kind of helped you have that sense of security. You know what's going on. You purchase that Bitcoin from the miner. You know exactly what wallet address that came on, because you're getting to watch it be printed on that blockchain that your wallet is attached to. And then you turn around and you put it in your little wallet, and boom, you have your Bitcoin, and it's safe and it's secure.
And it plays to that trustless nature that we talked about in part 1. And again, if you haven't already watched part 1, links in the description. Make sure you go back and watch that. It's going to give you a lot of good base information for the stuff we're talking about here in this video. And yeah, trustless was the key in that first piece of Bitcoin's history and the first piece of Bitcoin's life, in my opinion. But
most definitely. And like
it's grown from there.
you had a lot of discussion about it on the internet at that time. There was a bunch of forums that you could hop into other
Yes.
people that were talking about Bitcoin. And that's where, in that initial phase, when people were buying from miners, Satoshi Nakamoto was on those message boards. And you
Yes.
could kind of interact with the key figures of Bitcoin at that time. I was in it in 2011. That was very, very early. Like, I couldn't even buy from a centralized exchange. Those didn't exist
I was
back
going to say they didn't even
then.
exist.
Yeah, which is why you had to go that roundabout way. You had to interact with someone on the other side of the globe, maybe, where you're buying Bitcoin from them.
Yep.
So
Yep.
very,
But it
very
evolved, and we got to centralized exchanges, which I know a lot of people, and I'm just going to throw this out there before you talk about it. I know a lot of people kind of like are not, they're negative with regard to utilizing centralized exchanges with gaining crypto, and I get the why. There's a lot less with regard to anonymity. You generally have to do KYC and so on and so forth. And again, those terms, know your customer. I'll put a link in the description so you can go ahead and take a look at that if you're not already familiar with it. But believe me, you are, because every time you open up a bank account or every time you're doing something that's involving the government, you have to prove who you are, and that's basically what KYC is with regard to these exchanges. And so because of that, sometimes these exchanges get, I don't know, negative press with regard to those who are especially smart about and proponents of privacy. And I don't blame them. I agree. There's still methods and tactics you can use to maintain privacy. Again, watch for the security video and privacy video that's coming up in this series. But these centralized exchanges, and I'm going to let BC take it away, in my opinion, were a necessity for the space's growth. And to some degree, still are as of the recording of this video. Do you agree, BC?
I feel two ways about centralized exchanges.
That's okay.
One of them is my logical brain and understanding that if you wanted Bitcoin to get even where it is at just today, you needed centralized exchanges.
Yes.
It's a little bit against the whole Bitcoin method of you're in charge of your own money. But if you wanted your everyday person to have heard about Bitcoin, you needed a centralized exchange to push us to that point.
Agreed.
And I understand it had its positives. There are the negatives that you did touch on. That whole anonymity, you being in control, is very separated on the whole centralized exchange aspect.
Comes to a term we hear all the time, BC, in this space. And if you haven't heard it yet, folks, you're going to hear it as you hear. Not your keys, not your coins. And it may not make 100% sense right now. Again, watch for the videos. They're coming. But if you don't control the keys to your crypto, Bitcoin, whatever it is, you are not in charge. These centralized exchanges are the ones that control it. And I apologize for interrupting you there, BC, but I mean, I thought that was something they should understand why that phrase exists.
It is a very important thing. And when you're talking about something that is a cryptographic hashing algorithm, you're going to have the keys that attach to that crypto because it is an algorithm. So your key unlocks your use of that token in the hashing algorithm. And without that key, you cannot transact on the blockchain. You can't open that door to send that crypto through. So those keys play a very, very big role in your daily transactions of it. And if you don't own those keys, you don't own that crypto.
That's right.
Your name is attached to it, but it's not technically yours. And we've witnessed the repercussions of not owning your own keys over and over.
Many times.
Yes. And I've witnessed it for even longer than that. where
Yes,
you
indeed.
have Mt. Gox being that first real crypto exchange and collapsed due to being hacked. You spend enough time at it, they gained entry to it, they took a lot of Bitcoin off exchange, and guess what? The only people that ended up holding the bag for that was the people who didn't own their own keys.
Yep.
So,
And those people, I mean, I guess it's timely to put it out, are literally just getting, as of the recording of this video, are just getting some of their crypto back. Not even in today's dollars and today's costs. And they're getting it from 2014, if memory serves. Yes.
yes, 2014.
Yeah.
Mt. Gox was running from 2010 until 2014.
Yeah. So again, you'll hear me say it all the time. I'm a big proponent of getting your crypto off of these exchanges, and so is BC, quite frankly. But unless you're actively utilizing it, again, if you're a trader, that's a video for a different time. Watch. We're going to have Joe from Trade Intuition coming in to talk to you about that, but not what we're here for today. So keep it going. Take us down the rabbit hole, because yeah, Mt. Gox was the first big kind of kick in the pants to the crypto space, but we still needed decentralized exchanges. So take it
Most
away.
definitely. And then you had Coinbase. Coinbase in 2012, Kraken shortly after that in 2013, and then Binance in 2017. Also, giant proponents in being able to have alternatives to Bitcoin. Because though Bitcoin is king, you are going to have number 2 and number 3 and number 4 in utility. That's
Yes.
that key part. Those utility aspects were those first big proponents on what else crypto could offer your everyday world. And without these centralized exchanges, you wouldn't know what Cardano is. You wouldn't know
Right.
what XRP is. You would never have heard of Solana at all. These were very niche areas of crypto that these altcoins were trying to fill. And without these centralized exchange proponents to crypto, these would be no names.
And access to them would be practically non-existent. I mean,
Exactly.
it just is and was the nature of what needed to transpire in the space in order to help to grow the space. I mean, it was a necessary evil, as they say, unfortunately. But we then saw a birth of something that's probably more in line with the ethos of cryptocurrency with regard to DeFi exchanges. If you want to jump into that a little bit, BC.
So, and then this would have been going into cycle number 3, you have the rise of DeFi exchanges. And a big part of this came with Ethereum split to Ethereum 2.0 and staking mechanisms in crypto.
Yes.
I'm sure you will also break that down in another
Yes.
video.
Yes.
I don't think we really have the time to dive on in that whole sphere because that'd make this video extremely long. But without that whole staking mechanism where you put your dollars as proof of reserves on this exchange, then you wouldn't really have the rise of DeFi. And DeFi opened up the door to, if you have Bitcoin, you're gonna swap it over anonymously into giant staking pools, which this is if you want to talk about lending and the breakaway from debanking. You kind of need a way to be able to lend money securely and trustlessly. And this is where DeFi exchanges exploded because the applications were astronomical.
Yep, I agree. And a necessary evolution of the process with regard to these exchanges. Now, I should note for those who are new to the space that the evolution of DeFi is still ongoing. We are seeing many changes. And even to this point in time, BC, correct me if I'm wrong, but even to this point in time, it's extremely difficult to on-ramp fiat into a DeFi exchange, if not impossible, outside of like utilizing traditional means. So a credit card processor, that kind of thing. I'm talking straight, just inject it into the cryptocurrency space and be able to go and do whatever it is you need to do in DeFi. It's still extremely difficult.
So you go through a set DeFi exchange, say like Uniswap, who deals a lot in Ethereum. So you on-ramp your Ethereum instead of on-ramping your fiat, and then you find a pool that needs Ethereum, and for that Ethereum you get a token that proves that you have that Ethereum in there, and it swaps out for, say, ETH and ADA. And so you get your ETH, you take your ADA out, and it kind of allows for this exchange of one crypto to another crypto, or getting your money put in like a savings account and you earn interest on your tokens. It opens up that whole next aspect of banking, because what good is keeping your money in a bank if you also don't get some rewards from it?
Amen. That's the truth. That's the truth. And listen, it's a still evolving space is the bottom line of all of this. And I'm hopeful that this evolution in the DeFi space will help bring us back, the crypto space, back to the original ethos of the space, because in theory it should eliminate that centralized entity, those centralized exchanges, in order to be able to access cryptocurrency. And again, we're going to talk a little bit more about the ethos of this space as we continue on, but there's probably a little more history you need to know here before we get moving. And I kind of want to preface, before BC talks about it, I kind of want to preface it with this. I came into the space very early 2017, right before that whole run up that we saw in 2017 to 2018. And I remember that there were a lot of people at that time talking about, wow, wouldn't it be great if Wall Street got in on this? Wouldn't it be great if, the government would do this? Or wouldn't it be great if like this financial institution, yada, yada, yada. And it was on and on and on. And we still hear it to this day as of the recording of this video. But sometimes you got to say, be careful what you wish for, if you ask me. But that led into where we kind of are now in this next phase of adoption of crypto. And I'm going to let BC kind of talk about that. So take it away, sir.
So, and that's your whole mainstream adoption. You now can buy your cryptocurrency through more traditional means. And instead of having to dive onto the internet and create a Coinbase account, you through an ETF in your bank and your 401k, if they have that option there, you can purchase Bitcoin through an ETF. And that happened just this past year. It has been around for a little over a year now, where Bitcoin and Ethereum have had ETFs that you can buy through traditional means. Once again, it is kind of like centralized exchanges, where it is not your key, it is not your crypto, and it has come out very similar to, I owned paper Bitcoin, which I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of, and what it kind of holds with that crypto space, but it does get more people involved in that crypto space. So it's both a net negative and a net positive.
Yeah, well, at this point in time, we need to like expand the word. The people need to know more about the space, and unfortunately, or fortunately, like you said, double-edged sword. That's one of the ways that it happens, and a lot of these, because I know for most people watching this video, probably you have some kind of IRA or 401k or whatever, so you understand that these things are regulated pretty heavily, especially if you're here in the United States. But much like BC said, the expansion of that for people who are in these entities or part of these entities to get access to the volatility and the long-term access and in growth to things and asset classes like Bitcoin or Ethereum, which already exist. And I should note, as of the recording of this video, there are several other applications for additional cryptocurrency ETFs sitting on the desk of the SEC. So by the time you're watching this, there may be more to choose from. This area is going to expand. And I hope to a point that it will help to just drive adoption to people who will want to understand how to own their own keys so they can own their own coins. Any final thoughts about that, BC, before we kind of move on a little bit?
No, I hope that's something that crypto kind of gets back to as well. If it's someone holds an ETF for say 2 cycles and they're like, dang, this growth is kind of insane. But I heard this thing about I don't actually own this crypto, or something else bad is going to happen, like an FTX type situation. And people are like, wait, what was that thing my buddy said that was in? He's been in crypto for a while, and it's that not your keys thing. What was he talking about here? And they might actually get interested in owning their own Bitcoin instead of giving someone else their money to own their Bitcoin for them.
Yes, and manage it for them. And again, that might be, again, old guy interwebs here, but to people that are probably my age or an older, I'm an anomaly here. I don't want anybody handling my Bitcoin. Give me that. I'm good. I can do it. But I get that, when you hit a certain age, you may want to just take it easy because this whole technology thing is just too much and you don't want to lose your money. I understand. So why not have a bank or whoever hold your crypto? But I'm hoping, again, that the ethos of the space, especially for the younger crowd, will bring them back to no. I want to hold my own. And we're about to walk through how we've gone through this whole process, like via technology, and technology is just crazy. I mean, it's constantly changing, constantly getting better. I mean, AI, think about that. And again, this is not an AI video, but the way that even AI right now, as of the recording of this video, is growing exponentially should give you the idea that, oh my God, we've come a long way and it's only going to go faster. But BC, how about highlighting us a little bit about where it all started? Because I think in this first point, I laugh when I think about how even in 2017, when I got into this, I sometimes had to get to local Bitcoins in order to go and like get some Bitcoin to go and buy whatever it was I wanted. But here, jump on in. Tell everybody how it all began, and we'll bring it up to where we are with the tech.
So, I mean, Bitcoin started out as a peer-to-peer, and that's what a lot of those first cryptocurrency alternatives to Bitcoin, aka altcoins, were very similar with. It was a peer-to-peer way of sending money from one person to another. And that's that first part of the whole debanking process.
Yes.
And so as you debank yourself, what else do you need to take control of in your daily life? In this everyday economic world that we live in, how do I lend my money out? And that's where you had giant blockchain expansions with things like Ethereum, who then turned to proof of stake, which is a way to prove that you have the money, you get your reward from it, and there you go. That takes that whole lending process into account. When that's that whole next big expansion with proof of stake. And that leads very, very quickly, as we touched on decentralized exchanges, into the whole DeFi sector. And that was that next real big leap in the crypto space, was
Yes.
how do you have decentralized finance? Instead of me giving my money to a bank who loans it out and takes all of the APY, where they lent it out for 11% and they're paying you 2% in your savings account.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, that's you got to be in a high yield exchange, and you might get like 6% right now due to current economic states and how high they're able to loan out money. But it's still, you're at the end of the day trusting that other person. And instead, you can now trust yourself in the system that you're in because you see how it works every single day. You have proof, immutable proof, unimmutable proof of that blockchain and that transaction occurring and that payout happening. So,
Yes.
and you will see that change instead of it being, oh, I see that change in my bank account where it's just ones and zeros, and if I go there, will they actually give me the dollars in exchange for that? Yeah, I trust you to give me the $100,000 that you say is in my bank account. Go
Yeah.
try to withdraw $100,000 from your bank account. See what happens. See what
Yeah,
happens.
that ain't happening. Or that isn't happening. Oh my
Exactly.
goodness.
So
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to and interrupt you there, but it's so true. It's so
it
true.
really is, and that it just shows you how important crypto really can be. Uh,
Yes.
that next big leap forward was kind of blockchain gaming and NFTs. Never really got into it that much. I kind of saw NFTs as a whole wonky thing. I feel like it has some great technical logical aspects that it could potentially have going forward if you pair it with that gaming sector, which is why those two kind of go together. Where it's like, hey, I play Fortnite, so I have this cool skin that I want to sell to my buddy. But right
Yep.
now, the only thing you can do is sell your account. And instead, if it was an NFT and it ran on, say, we'll just go the Solana blockchain, and I'm now able to transfer my NFT from my wallet to his wallet, and he receives that image.
Yep.
Great technology, a little bit
I,
ahead of its time in the implementation on the cycling, though.
I think you just hit the nail on the head when the NFT boom, which you may hear as you go through this space, happened. You're right. I think it was ahead of its time because there'll be an entire video with regard to NFTs. So make sure you're watching for that. But the potential, in my opinion, not to get down a total NFT road here, is huge outside, in and outside of the gaming sector. However, much like BC just mentioned, I believe that you will see the development of this, the more quick implementation of this in the gaming sector, because the two just make sense. They go together. And I've done a number of interviews. I'll link them in the description of this video about gaming and Web3, P2E, if that's your thing. If you're looking to earn, and there's a whole nother avenue, a whole nother world about that. Again, outside of the scope of this video, but I'm going to put links to interviews I did that will talk you through some of the latest ones and give you some ideas as to how these NFTs are actually integrating into those systems. So I appreciate the fact, BC, that you brought up this whole gaming thing. I think that's going to be a huge piece to this crypto space, but I'm taking up too much time here. Go ahead, bring us, keep us
Not
going.
a problem. There's a lot of other UK use cases to NFTs too, but
Yes,
I brought up the gaming because as of right now, it is the biggest part of the whole NFT market.
absolutely, absolutely.
Then that next real leap forward, as we've seen in our daily lives, has been AI and AI in crypto. So
Yes,
blockchains are able to move information extremely fastly. And that's a very, very easy use case for an AI model. And
yes,
instead of having to transfer the ones and zeros from here to here and do it securely so that it is immutable, and then we know, and it also gives you a great way to train these where it's, hey, you do this in the correct manner, you receive a reward of a crypto. And that's where it's quite a leap forward for the crypto space. And you saw the rise of Tau in this past cycle absolutely exploded. And this is a AI training model that
yes.
uses crypto, and you benefit from that AI model getting better. with the rise of AI, you also are talking about moving information around, which is that next big leap forward in crypto, and DePin, or decentralized physical infrastructure networks. And
That's
this
going
is
to be huge.
moving actual information around on a blockchain. And with this, you saw the explosion of Web3 that you were talking about just a second ago.
Yes. I'll tell you what, even to the recording of this video, the DePin space is still expanding, and this constant evolution going on there alone. And even before DePin was a thing, there was DePin. We just didn't call it that, from the same information that BC was just saying. You're moving information here or there. It was already happening, but now it's become more codified. It's become more where the people are really trying to expand that. Blockchain's really trying to expand that. So I am all about DePin stuff. I love it. I think there's a lot to be said for that particular space. And again, there'll be an entire video with regard to that, so watch for that when it comes out. Don't want to completely get down that rabbit hole, but we'll move on to one more section, and then we're gonna talk ethos of this space.
Most
BC,
definitely. Though I had one other section on that whole progression of technology, but I did definitely want to touch on the first DePin was technically Bitcoin, because it has a message on that first block. So
you know what?
Bitcoin proved DePin capabilities. It did it
I
very
didn't
slowly.
consider that. I appreciate that. I didn't consider that.
It was a little teaser of what all crypto technology could really do. And it's quite fascinating. So that last little boost in technology for crypto would have been scaling to solutions where you have optimism or batching transactions off the blockchain that is built on top of that initial blockchain. So we use the technology or communication language of this blockchain to roll up transactions and just send a key over to this big blockchain. So you're now breaking down one transaction that maybe holds 10 transactions into a 10 transaction that holds 100 transactions. Layer
Yes.
2 scaling solutions is that next big boost that we saw in the crypto space.
And that itself has helped to propel the technology forward in this space, and will, in my opinion, continue to do so for a long while. And I mean, as technology just continues to develop, and to the point that BC made earlier, I think add that to the AI piece of the pie, and oh my goodness, this is just the beginning.
Most
My
definitely.
humble opinion.
And here's the thing: if you want to compete with your daily economy, where Visa handles 3 million transactions a second, your crypto needs to get to that point as well. So, and do it trustlessly. And
Yes.
instead of Visa taking 3 days for the money to actually leave your bank account and get to said retailer or whatever business you just dealt with, you need that done all at once and done at the same speed and with more security, where
Yes.
okay, I sent that money, here's the transaction of it occurring, and my receipts right there, done and over with. They have their money, you sent their money, and everyone does it without a third party.
Yes. And again, video that you're going to see later on in the series. However, I currently have a playlist that talks about how to live on crypto today, and what BC just mentioned, having instant transactions that are immutable instantly, that go through. They already exist on one blockchain that I know of. And if you go to that series, link is in the description. I'll let you figure out what it is. We're not going to get down that road right here, but you can do it today if you're looking to live on crypto. BC, time to talk ethos. What do you think? The original ethos of this space, I mean, let's be honest, that's what it's all about. If you ask me, I We should all be able to just do whatever it is we want to do with our money. Shouldn't have anybody in the middle of that process. Unfortunately, I think we've kind of gotten away from that a little bit. So
just a little.
Just a little. It's so true. I mean, go ahead. I'll let you kind of throw in your 2 cents here, and then we'll just kind of we're gonna literally hash this out. So for those who are watching this video, this is probably going to be a little bit more of a wrap session that's going to go on for this last piece of this video. So I hope you enjoy this format, but I think it's necessary for you to see the evolution of this ethos in the space and the current, as of the recording of this video anyway, the current mindset of people coming into the space, and where we're hopefully going to be able to diverge that and change that back toward the original ethos. I don't know. Do you even think that's possible, BC? That's probably the wrong place to start the question there. But
I mean, it's possible. You rarely see things move backwards unless economically forced to do so, and that's kind of where you'd have to see a bit of a collapse to really progress forward in the original means. Where when I first got into crypto, you could hop onto a forum and talk to other nerds. I'll say it. We were all nerds back then, the first people that got into crypto. You didn't get in there because it was the cool thing to do. I was a high schooler when I got into Bitcoin, and I'm like sitting in the library during my lunch on the computer talking in like crypto forums and stuff like that. It was fascinating to have watched where the economy was at that point, and just to see it progress into something where it's like, okay, do we trust the current financial collapse that we just witnessed, and just, hey, let's just put our money right back into that system that is extremely valuable? Or do you want your fellow man to have freedom? And that's what Bitcoin and crypto was all about in that initial rise to crypto. It was, I want to be free, and I want to tell as much other people in the world that they can be free too.
Exactly.
And you've kind of seen that slide just a little bit. It's like not how do I have freedom? Now people are talking about freedom as if it means like I have a $1 million meme account. Like, that's not freedom. Like,
right.
What are you doing with your said freedom? And that's why I just still stick with that Bitcoin message. That's why I'm kind of a Bitcoin maxi. I buy some altcoins, but it is.
I'm glad you brought up that term, Bitcoin maxi, because I think it needs to be said here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Well, like, and it's weird. It's weird for me to be 29 years old. I'm a little bit younger in the space, but to be a Bitcoin maxi, that's not normally what you see of people my age in the crypto space.
That is 1,000% true.
Most of the people my age are like, oh, look at this meme coin, and like, look at this, and look at this NFT that I owned last cycle, and
yeah, look how much it's not worth this cycle.
Yeah. I saw a whole meme video on that, whereas they're like a 2021 crypto guy, and he's talking about all the NFTs that he just bought, and he didn't sell the top, and he's like crying into this cycle because they're not worth anything. I mean, it's part of what's really helped me stick with that Bitcoin message and that message of freedom. Because you know what hasn't lost its value cycle after cycle after cycle?
Yeah, exactly.
It's extremely resilient, and it's kind of something that has also given me hope of that we have the potential in crypto to get back to that original crypto message. When you see the oversaturation of your current market, it leads me to that same thought process where you normally see oversaturated markets. Take a little ride down the toilet. So
yeah, that's very nicely put, BC. And listen, I mean, the space has gone through so much like growth, and I use that in both a positive and a negative light. We talked a lot about the positive stuff as we've gone through these 2 videos about history, but there's also been a lot of negative stuff. There have been governments and so on who have attacked crypto at every turn and tried, and in some cases succeeded, in crushing projects, in arresting founders of different projects. We've seen the Tornado Cash and Roger Ver. Whether you like these people, don't like these people, like projects, don't like projects, is not the point. The fact of the matter is that this space has suffered some serious heat since its inception. Do you want to add anything to that before I kind of flip back a little positive here again?
I mean, I'll just say that you don't see people arrested that are trying to make big changes like that unless it's a threat to their current economic system. So
there you go. See, I love it. I love it. See, I sit here and babble, and he just brings it right to the point. Perfect. And to the point of trying to be hopeful about a future ethos here. We've seen a bit of a shift over the last several months where, that regulatory pounding, it's still there in some parts of the globe. But for those in the US, we've seen a shift where it's a bit more positive and less regulatory beatdown with regard to cryptocurrency. Now, in my opinion, I'm going to guess BC is going to agree with me, but in my opinion, that has led to the unfortunate place we are, the ethos of the space is, because we've watched presidents put out meme coins. We've watched presidents rug pull meme coins, the president's families. We've just seen all kinds of stuff that is not what it's all about, in my opinion. It is basically the make as much money as possible, as quick as possible, and if you step on everybody in the process, oh well, there's shame on them. That seems to be the current ethos. And personally, on a personal note, I will say it really hurts me to try to talk to people about cryptocurrency, like to my core, because I want people to understand that this could be their freedom. But when you're watching people who are of high influence do these kind of things that they're doing, it is not good. I think I'm going to hold it there because if you want to see more about how I'm feeling about that, come check out some of my live streams on my channel, and you will get more of my opinion. But that's not what this video is for. BC, save me here.
I mean, I think this is why still a lot of people describe crypto as the Wild West.
Yes.
I mean, you have just as much likelihood to make it as you do to completely crap the bed. And this is why this is a very important series where all the time you hear people that talk about crypto saying to do your own research. Doing your own research in the Wild West of a new economic trend is very, very wise. You might not want to hop on bandwagons because bandwagons have a very likelihood to head down the wrong path because it is led by someone with less than full honest intentions.
Amen.
So anywhere you're seeing new money coming in that is less very unregulated, you're going to attract bad actors, and bad actors will act badly until there is incentivization to not do so, whether forced on by the crypto space or forced on by governments through regulatory means.
Which we would prefer, or at least I would prefer, the first part, that
Most
we
definitely.
as a space do it. I don't want the government here. Or okay, I'm okay with light touch. Maybe we can argue that out on a different stream and in a different video. But we as a space, as investors, as people who are our own bank, should be the ones to enforce that kind of actions, those kind of actions, and decry those when they're bad. My opinion.
Most definitely. But I mean, the government's going to get involved. It just is what it is.
I hate to admit it, but you're right.
Yeah, I mean, the UK already banning Pump Soul, which was one of those big meme marketplaces, because a lot of less than honest actions were happening on there. That was always the path that was going to happen. As long as
Yes.
that flourished and people were losing their money on it because people were being dishonest, the government's going to come in and be like, look, I get you guys are just trying to have your fun, but too many people get hurt from this. No longer allowed.
Yep. Sad truth. Okay, let's not go too far off on the rails. Let's bring it back a little bit to, now that we know, as of the recording of this video, that's kind of where we're at with regard to the ethos of the space. Does that bringing of the attention to that for everybody who's coming into the space change the potential outcome and bring us back to that original ethos? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think there's the potential of it as you have these ETFs and more traditional means, banks that are potentially going to be able to hold your crypto for you, so that people that are older and don't want to dive into all of that, yes, it's kind of the antithesis of some of that ethos, but it opens the door to that ethos conversation to get back to freedom and you being in charge of your own money. I think
I'm hopeful.
Yeah, the gains off of Bitcoin are going to be what kind of drives it there, because you've seen Bitcoin be decently resilient in this little downtrend that we're in, and a lot of those altcoins are back at some bear market prices. So apparently price action is following the ethos of crypto.
There you go. And we're going to talk more about that in future videos too. There's one other piece that I would like to kind of touch on as we're talking about this ethos, and is, to the person watching this video, why are you here? You need to understand why you're here. What's your goal? What are you trying to get to from this space? A lot of what you're going to see in this video series is trying to get you to the point and educate you to the point that you are trying to get yourself out of that TradFi system and put yourself into a position where you are autonomous with your finances and your ability to transact. To that end, I'm going to say this, and I know BC is going to have stuff to say about this. In order to help you get in that position, and believe me, I have an entire video coming out on this shortly, watch for that, you have to be surrounding yourself with people who have a similar mindset, who are a great community for you to not only absorb what it is that they have to say, but to be able to get it from a diverse group of people who are going to come at it from a bunch of different avenues, but bring it pretty much to the same point, to the same pinnacle. And I'm going to have links to a couple of these groups. And again, in the community video that you're going to see shortly, there will be an entire litany, and I'm going to be bringing people on to talk specifically about that. But BC, in the meantime, I think that having yourself surrounded by the right people is going to be key for these new people coming into the space, watching this video, in order to maybe help to bring that ethos back. What say you?
I mean, it's no different than your daily life. I know there's a saying where it's, show me your 5 best friends and I'll show you who you are as a person. It's no different in the crypto space. You want to surround yourself with either people of morals that you admire, or that have similar morals to you if you do have good morals in your daily life or your crypto space. You want to align yourself with the people that have that same outlook as you. If you're here to just get money, there's plenty of groups to do it. I hope the best for you. Get your gains how you get your gains. There's nothing wrong with that. If you are here for the long-term wealth and you're not worried about what the next 5 years is, and you're worried about how am I gonna live my life when I'm 69 and ready to retire, then find those people that have that similar outlook as you. It's going to be very, very different from the people that are chasing those gains for right now. Surround yourself with those right people, get that mindset the way that you need to. And a big way to do that is going to be informing yourself through video series like yours.
Well, thank you. That's my goal with regard to putting this series together. To that end, I think we've kind of hashed out the history portion of cryptocurrency to a great degree. I hope you've enjoyed this video, but remember this, what we've talked about is kind of like the 10,000 foot view of the history of the crypto space. There are a lot of nuance in what we've talked about and things we didn't even dig into any extensive degree. So please, if there's something that you want to see or hear about, BC and I would love to do and put out whatever information you'd like with regard to understanding the history of this space a little bit better. So make sure in the comments you put that in there, and I promise I will respond to those. BC, is there any last minute stuff you'd like to throw out with regard to the overall history in these two-part series that we just did?
Honestly, I'd just say buy Bitcoin and hodl on. That's basically my.
That's always good advice. Yes,
Yeah.
sound advice. Sound advice. All right, we are going to wrap this up. I appreciate everyone watching this video. Again, watch for the next video in the series. And if you have not already followed BC PortCorp, link to all of his contact information in the description of this video. Make sure that you're going ahead and following him. Great information. This guy is online 5 days a week at least, putting out super information every single morning, and you really need to see that. BC, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate all the input you put into this. You made this video series right here a success. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Pleasure to be here. And if you need any more help, I'm always happy to lend the hand.
Don't worry, you'll be getting another call from me. Just telling you. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one. All right, that's going to do it for the history of cryptocurrency as it stands up to the recording of this video. As a reminder, don't forget, check out all the links in the description of this video. And head on over to the next video in this series. When it's ready and posted, you'll be able to get to it right here. So again, head on over and I will see you there.